Carry me back to the place that breaks my heart, 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 whenever I leave.
As frequent visitors to NYC, we're often asked by friends, family, what to do. I'm not very good at advice, but I can show you what we enjoy doing. What are we going to do?
We're going to walk across the Brooklyn Bridge because it might be slightly warmer than going across it in the bus.
We're going to be doing something today that is completely free, gratis, no charge. We're going to be walking from Brooklyn to Manhattan across the Brooklyn Bridge, and we'll get to see most of New York City's major landmarks.
It's a tad chilly, but it's good, it's sun's out.
That's my wife, Susie, and walking with me. Now, today we're walking from Brooklyn to Manhattan, so it's about how do you get to Brooklyn. Well, you can get there on the subway. You can get to Borough Hall or Clark Street on the 2 and 3 train, or Court Street on the N and R train. Now, the walk takes about an hour. It's 1.3 miles. There are no restrooms, there are no vendors, so go before you go. Now, we're now looking from the bridge back into Brooklyn. That's the Manhattan Bridge, and that area there is known as Dumbo, down under Manhattan Bridge overpass. Another way of getting there, if you're on the Grey Line Brooklyn Loop bus, they may let you off at Tillery Street and Flatbush Avenue. They may also even point you in the right direction. Get off the bus, cross the road, you're going west along Tillery Street, you've got sports basketball courts on your right hand side, keep walking, go across J Street, and then eventually you'll come to another street, walk into the middle of that, and you will come to the Manhattan sign you saw at the beginning. Now already, look, there we go, Statue of Liberty out there on Liberty Island, looking towards New Jersey, and then we've got great views of Lower Manhattan as well. The Brooklyn Bridge was completed in 1883 and goes across the East River. It has a main span of 1,595.5 feet, and from its opening until 1903 it was the longest suspension bridge in the world. It was designed by a German immigrant, John Augustus Roebling. While he was conducting surveys for the bridge, he had an injury, he crushed his foot, and developed a tetanus infection. He handed over charge of the bridge to his 32-year-old son, Washington Roebling. Unfortunately, not long after this, John Augustus Roebling died. Now, the two large Gothic towers on which the bridge is suspended on were built by use of something called a caisson. Now, this was a very, very large wooden box that was driven into the water and down, and the pressure stopped the water from coming in. And it was laid on the surface of the riverbed. And the men got inside and they dug down. Unfortunately, they suffered from something which became known as Caisson's disease, what we now call decompression sickness or the bends. Unfortunately, Washington Roebling, also working in a caisson, was paralysed by the Caisson disease. Fortunately, Emily Warren Roebling, his wife, stepped in and was actually the first person to walk across the bridge when it opened. The bridge building involved 600 workers and cost $15 million. Now already we're getting some stunning views of Manhattan. Right in the centre there, as I'm sure you know, is the Empire State Building. As we pan to the right, you'll see the MetLife Building, that was formerly the Pan Am Building, and of course the iconic Chrysler Building. Now you'll notice that the walkway runs above the traffic, and this gives you quite a nice sense of security for people that don't particularly like heights that much. Although there have been more than its fair share of jumpers off the Brooklyn Bridge. The first was Mr. Robert Emmett Odlum in May 19th, 1885, hit the water and died from his internal injuries. Not to be recommended. We're now walking along the walkway. Now you'll notice on the right hand side you've got a cyclist there. That lane is for cyclists. Stay out of it. They hurt when they hit you. If you do want to cross and just take some pictures, stop, look both ways, and when you come back, do the same. They don't like it when you walk out in their little lane. Now, it can get quite chilly up there, particularly during the winter, which is when this was taken. So please make sure that you dress accordingly, and no high fashion shoes. Now, you're looking out now to the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, which crosses from Brooklyn to Staten Island. Now, there's a subway train on the Manhattan Bridge. Once upon a time, on the Brooklyn Bridge, there was something called streetcars, what we'd call trams, that used to run over the bridge. However, they stopped in 1944 and opened all for traffic, which runs underneath where you are walking now. Now, you also have the option, of course, of walking from Manhattan to Brooklyn. If you wish to do so, you could get the subway to Brooklyn Bridge and City Hall Station on the 4, 5 and 6 train, or City Hall on the N and R train. If time is limited, of course, what you could do is walk halfway out, get all the good views and walk back again. It's whatever you want it to be. Now, up on the left hand side, you can see World Trade Center 1. Which is this dates this bit of film because it's a lot further on than that at the moment, although not completed. To its right hand side is something called the Beekman Tower, as I used to know it as. Apparently it's now known as 8 Spruce Street or Frank Gehry NY. It is in actual fact the 12th tallest residential tower in the world and houses a school and hospital. One of the beautiful features, along with the Gothic arch towers, is all these wonderful cables that create a beautiful pattern as you walk into them. These cables are made up of interwoven wires, which if you stretched out end to end, would mean you had 3,600 miles of cable to deal with. Now, walking the bridge was popular immediately when it opened. In fact, the first day, it's estimated that 150,000 people walked over it. And you've got to remember the time in 1883, things weren't that high. You were talking about the tallest buildings being 4-story buildings in New York City. This would give people the chance for the very first time to actually look down upon a city. However, 6 days after its opening, a rumour went round on the bridge that it was about to fall down, and everyone tried to get off as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, 12 people were killed by being crushed. So, call up Mr. P.T. Barnum, who brought his circus across with Jumbo the elephant and a further 21 elephants, just to prove that it was actually quite safe. If anything, the Brooklyn Bridge was over-constructed, and certainly by the time they built the Manhattan Bridge, they were using a lot less materials. We're now going to be looking at South Street, Seaport and Lower Manhattan. This took a lot of damage in Hurricane Sandy. It is beginning to reopen. There's my wife Susie, admiring the view. Now, despite what I said about how well constructed this bridge was, it is very old and it needs some maintenance and repair. This cladding on the Manhattan side was still up in April. Hopefully it's down now, or it'll be down soon. But you still are able to get some amazing views of Manhattan. Hopefully we've done some kind of justice to those views here on these videos. We're now looking back towards Brooklyn across the bridge, going across to downtown Manhattan, across over to the financial district. But then there's the Beekman Tower again, or whatever they decided they want to call it now. There's Susie again, looking out towards South Street, Seaport, and seeing some of the old buildings that are down there, and part of the oldest part of New York City, what was once known as New Amsterdam. For those of you who are interested in New York City history, if you don't know about it already, I'm going to point you to the Bowery Boys podcast. I shall put a link in the description for this video. I'd also recommend, if you're interested in finding out more about the Brooklyn Bridge, Ken Burns' Brooklyn Bridge film, which I believe is still available on iTunes, is absolutely superb. It's also, they show it on PBS every so often if you don't fancy paying for it. Okay, looking back now, that's where we've just come from. That's Brooklyn in the background. That's the Brooklyn Bridge. And as us and the other weary walkers finish our wonderful journey across the Brooklyn Bridge, I'd like to thank you for watching and taking some time out. Hopefully you've got some information that you can use for your visit to New York City. It truly is a wonderful thing to do. Just don't forget your camera, okay? Thank you for listening once again, and see you next time. Take care.